And before we get started with this video, I want to mention that I have done full reviews on the BMW M40i with the B58 inline-6 engine, of course, and I've also done a review on the regular BMW X3 with the 4 cylinders. I want to mention the regular 4-cylinder X3, and I'll keep this brief because I have recently partnered up with a company known as Lease Companion, so I've mentioned them multiple times. If you want to take 1% off of MSRP when you go to order a new BMW X3 M40i, you can do that through Lease Companion, or if you want to take 6% off MSRP on a regular X3, you can also do that as well, but I'll mention more of that towards the end in the conclusions. You can do what you will with that information. More importantly though, let's get into this review. So you're buying this mainly because of the inline-6 engine, and you might be cross-shopping this with the regular X3 and also the X5, the larger version of this car. But there is a performance edge to this vehicle, and that's what you need to understand. Let's talk about the exterior first. This vehicle is about 187 inches long, weighs about 4,400 pounds. This is the M variant, so for 2022, we see some changes with the exterior regarding the front bumpers. The front grille is slightly more enlarged. The rear taillights got redesigned. We also have here 20-inch wheels wrapped in 245 wide Bridgestone tires in the front and 275 wide Bridgestone tires in the back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is a 19-inch wheel setup available for the M40i. I think that's the base wheel. Not entirely sure, but I think that's right. But we have here the 20s, and I'll talk more about the ride quality in a little bit. But from an interior standpoint, really the X5 isn't a whole lot larger than this, if I'm going to be honest with you. Sure, the rear trunk area is a little bit larger because it's a taller space, but the rear seating space isn't that much more than this X3. You truly have to move up to the X7 to get a massive increase in space, just so you know. For most families, I recommend the X3. I think this is a good size for most families, and it can fit in most people's garages rather easily. That's another thing to keep in mind, but you're kind of looking into this because you might be a father, a husband, whatever, right? Or you can be a wife or a, whatever. And you're looking for like a sporty-ish vehicle, a performance sedan or a performance coupe, but your wife or your husband, whoever, won't let you have it. They're like, oh, we need an SUV because it's safer and we need to take the kids out and all that stuff to school because a sedan apparently can't do any of those things. So you're really looking at a performance SUV to kind of fill in that gap for you. Well, let's get into the driving segment and let's talk about that, see if it will meet your needs. And from a straight line performance standpoint, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed because compared to the SQ5, which I've done a full review on, and I've also done a GLC 43 review back in like 2017, 2018, I don't know when that was, but I have driven the GLC 43 from that model year. This is by far the quickest compared to those two vehicles. This thing hauls really nicely, and the handling is pretty good as well. No complaints from either of those areas. Okay, this pulls at the low end and it pulls out on the highway. When you're doing 70 miles an hour and you peg it to pass someone, this has plenty of power available on tap to get you up and moving no matter what situation you're in. That's my biggest problem with the Audi SQ5. Out on the highway, it doesn't pull nearly as well as this. Like, it loses out on that top end power. Most turbocharged engines will lose steam at the top end. This one doesn't. And this is the inline-6, a 3-liter with the mild hybrid system. I think it produces like 382 horsepower, 369 pounds-feet of torque. With the mild hybrid system, there's a couple of little advantages. That's one of the new things for 2022. A lot of vehicles have this mild hybrid system. It's to make the auto stop start feature smoother, and it does do that. And also gives you a little bit of extra shove off the line, like 11 extra horsepower, I think, when you peg it. Also, when you're coming to a stop or you're creeping to a stop and you're doing below 9 miles an hour, the engine will just cut off and it'll kind of save you some fuel that way. And it'll do that. I like that. All those things are very smooth and that's fine, but there is a little bit of a lag, especially off the line. so it doesn't alleviate that completely. But I'm going to talk about some major cons here with this drivetrain. It's not a major con, but I'm going to mention the M440i that I tested before, okay? Because this drivetrain feels nothing like the M440i that I tested, that coupe that I had. They both have the exact same drivetrain, okay? This B58 inline 6 with the excellent 8-speed automatic, okay? There's nothing wrong with this 8-speed. It is so snappy, so quick. You know, you get on the paddles, it's just comical how quickly it changes gears. I don't have an issue with that. But this is nowhere near as smooth as the coupe, the M440i. I have no idea why that is. It makes no sense to me. You would think that this X3, this family SUV, will be the smoothest iteration of this drivetrain, but it's not. This has like a lurchiness at the lower speed. When you're at a stop and you get up and move, when you kind of tip into the throttle, you're like in first gear. It has a little bit of this lurchiness. I thought the M440i coupe was much smoother in that aspect. And also, I don't like the sport mode in this. When I put this vehicle into sport mode, it's like every other car. It hovers around like 3,000 RPM. Here, I'll just do it right now. Yeah, immediately it just shoots up to 2,500 RPM. That's the new cruising speed at like 55 miles an hour. That is so absurd. It is such a waste of fuel. In the coupe that I tested, the sport mode was so perfect. Both in the city at 45 miles an hour or at the highway doing like 75 miles an hour, the vehicle would hover around under 2,000 RPMs in the sport mode. And it just became sharper to react from there. This is, obviously, it eliminates the turbo lag and everything because it's just naturally in a higher RPM state. That's cheating. That's not what I want, okay? This is how most sport modes are in most cars, and I hate that. Just a waste of fuel for everyday driving. It's just jerky and overreactive for no reason. So I don't like that sport mode. There's a custom mode, but I just put in the comfort for the most part. And I just deal with that subtle lag. It's not a big deal to me. Another thing, this ride quality, it shouldn't bother most people, but it is stiffer than the regular X3, okay? That should be obvious, but the M440i, the coupe, rode smoother than this. Again, very strange to me, but you know, this has a slightly more jittery ride quality. It doesn't bother me. I actually think this is a pretty good ride quality compared to BMWs of the past, like from 2018. I also like the steering weight of this as well. No matter what mode you put it in, sport mode, comfort, I think the steering weight is on point. It doesn't even change when you switch between the modes that much. So that's fine. I like the steering weight. In the past, it was just overweighted, over synthetic for no reason. Just made it very difficult to drive. This is not like that. Now the ride quality with these 20-inch wheels, it's fine. It's just over the slower speeds when I'm at like a parking lot or something and there's changes in the elevation, it can feel a little bit annoying even for me. So if you're a little bit older, I can see how this could be a little bit annoying. Also on the highway, it's kind of annoying as well. That jittery ride quality, you kind of feel everything. And I did a longer journey in this, and I had some passengers with me and they kind of agreed. This is why I think the regular X3 is actually perfect for most families. I don't think most people are gaining much from this inline 6 because that's the main reason why you're buying this. You're not driving this foot to the floor. In fact, I know how most of you people drive. You drive 15 miles an hour below the speed limit. So this inline 6 is mostly for flexing purposes for you. For most of you, the fuel efficiency gains and the smoothness of the regular X3 is more of a benefit to you. Another reason why I don't like this is because of, I'm assuming it's this mirror design, the side view mirrors. There is a lot of wind noise with this when you get this out on the highway, okay? Past 70 miles an hour, the wind noise is so crazy. That's probably my biggest complaint with this. The regular X3 has a coefficient of drag of like 0.29, I think. So that leads it to be pretty fuel efficient and also a lot quieter as well. So that's another huge advantage of the regular X3 compared to this, just very noisy. BMW has done a great job with the tire noise, you know, with their OEM tires that they use, even with the run flats, their Pirellis, the Bridgestones like you see here, very quiet tires. That's not an issue. It's the wind noise that's the most bothersome. So what am I saying here? Is this like a bad car or anything? No, it's not a bad vehicle. It's highly capable. The handling of this is fantastic. Obviously, I'm not demonstrating that to you right now because I chose a very bad time to do a test drive. But aside from that, I have really tried to drive the piss out of this vehicle, and it's so capable. This feels very rear-wheel drive biased. It's not really going to do a drift or anything, but when you kind of go into a corner, it feels like the rear end is pushing you. And I think a lot of people are going to like that. But let me just go ahead and park this vehicle. I think you've seen me drive this thing enough. That being said, the regular X3 is also a very capable driving machine, okay? This one takes it to the next level, of course. When you're doing high speeds in this, man, this thing is so stable. Things like that, where it makes me hard to fault it or complain about it, because from an engineering standpoint, what they've been able to achieve here is truly remarkable. But I'll let you in on a little secret about these kind of performance-esque European sedan slash SUVs. They're not super exciting to drive per se. Like, yeah, this thing does 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, but that's just a number at the end of the day. What you experience from behind the wheel, and this is my experience from driving hundreds of vehicles at this point, it's impressive on paper, but when you drive it, it's not super exciting. You just respect it, but it doesn't invigorate your soul. And what I mean by that is, you floor it, it's quick, cool, but it's a lot like you turning on Gran Turismo 7 at your house, or Assetto Corsa, or one of these racing simulators, and you have the little steering wheel in front of you, you have the little pedal box and everything, and you might be doing Formula 1 racing, right? Those cars are so quick in those video games, right? But you play the game, you hit the throttle, and you feel nothing. That's kind of what these modern day performance European cars are like to drive. Okay, it has all the performance, it has all the specs, but you really feel nothing driving it. And that's kind of where, even though the SQ5 Audi has some faults, I kind of lean towards that, because at least when you drive it every day, it had this certain fun factor. When you kind of come to a stop, it does like this downshifting thing, and the exhaust is backfiring, and it makes all these kind of pops and crackles. So it has some character there. The Benz, the GLC 43 does a similar thing. The only thing about the GLC I don't like is the lower end Mercedes products, the interiors feel very chintzy, they rattle a little bit. So if you can put up with the interior deficiencies, then the GLC 43 is kind of fun, I suppose. But the Audi has the most solid interior space and one of the easiest infotainment systems. That's what makes me lean towards the Audi SQ5. But the SQ5 lets me down with the drivetrain. The transmission is so slow to react. It really pisses me off. I know they can do better. Not sure why they didn't. Also, the engine doesn't pull very hard on the highway. I can get over that. I don't do much highway driving anyway. I'm mostly in the city. Really, that lack of transmission performance throws me off in the Audi. Whereas this, the performance aspect is there, but it lacks soul. And also this kind of has a more stiffer ride quality. This is the most impressive, it's the most quickest and all that, but it's also kind of the most boring amongst that little trio of SUVs. In my personal opinion, I would truly consider something like the new Acura MDX A-Spec. That's a vehicle I would really look into. And also the X5, even though it doesn't provide that much space, and I wasn't a huge fan of driving the regular X5 I tested, the regular 40i, I would really consider, in this day and age, the 45e, the plug-in hybrid X5. I think his channel name was Show Me the Information, or Show Me What I Need to Know, or something like that. I apologize if I get that wrong. He went on some BMW test course track day event or something, and they had a X5 plug-in hybrid there. He was really satisfied with that driving of that vehicle. I think because it weighed a little bit more, it had some better stability. I think if you get the 21-inch wheels on that, maybe the steering could be a little bit more precise on that, and all that battery pack weight was down low. So I think the driving dynamics of the plug-in hybrid was there for the X5. With that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about the interior space now. Okay, so now that we are done with the drive, let's go ahead and let's quickly cover this interior space, because I've talked about this interior before in my other BMW reviews, like the X3, the regular X3 review I did, as well as the M440i. So definitely check those videos out for a detailed look, but I'll still cover it here. Okay, this particular vehicle does have the $300 carbon fiber trim package on it, and that's great. I'm glad that they give it to you for such a affordable price, and I always liked how they had this aluminum material with the X in there. So nice design touches there. Got your memory seats, lock, unlock, and this kind of aluminum finish on the window switches as well. Also a premium touch there. I don't really like how they put this trunk release button there. It's kind of a weird location in my opinion. But there you have it, and you have your mirror controls as well. Decent space in the door pockets as well. You can put a larger size bottle in there if you so choose, with some extra storage there as well. Automatic headlights here. The seats, we have the black Sensitech seats here. You have a variety of colors that you can choose from, the cognac interiors, a white interior, red interior, all that good stuff. But these Sensitech seats, I actually like them more than the Sensitech seats found in the BMW X3, surprisingly. I just think they're a little bit more comfortable. Plenty of lumbar support here. Now the steering wheel, because we have a M model, we have that kind of dual stitching going on, triple stitching, whatever you want to call it, with the red and the blue, right, to match the M colors. That's a welcome touch there. And we have that kind of girthy steering wheel, very nice to grip onto. And we have these plastic paddle shifters that are finished in this, at least painted in this silver color, so it kind of gives it that extra premium feel to it, I suppose. And you have your alloy pedals there as well. M on the scuff plate there. Let's just get inside, start it up real quick. Stop start button is right here in the middle. Digital gauge cluster, and you have the 10.25 inch screen right here for the infotainment, and it's a good screen. I do like it for the most part. You have the wireless Apple CarPlay and the wireless Android Auto. It's also a touchscreen, quick to respond, no problems. The only thing is you do have a lot of menus to go through here and to study, but once you get used to it, it's not bad. That's the good thing, you can get used to it. I do think that the Audi system is a little bit easier to use. It's a little bit more simplistic, far superior to the Mercedes system for sure. Mercedes is the most complicated infotainment system by far. Another thing, to turn off the annoying lane keep assistance, you have to go to the driver's assistance page in the settings. I think you go to safety and warning, and yeah, lane departure warning off. That's how you turn it off there. Definitely recommend doing that. It is so intrusive, my gosh. You also have a 12.3 inch screen for your gauge cluster, also quick to respond, looks good. No problems. They're very legible, easy to understand, and when you press the different drive modes, it kind of changes a little bit. You go into, this is the sport mode setting. And let me see what happens in Eco. Kind of turns into a blue screen for you there. So now look at your steering wheel with the buttons. You have your radar cruise control here with your volume controls here as well. This is more of that carbon fiber. We have more of that running here along the door. However, you don't really get that here, the carbon fiber in the center, which is extremely unfortunate. They just give you this piano black plastic. Pretty annoying to keep that clean. You can close this as well. You get your little M badge. Cup holders are of a decent size. You can kind of put a phone in there. I have an iPhone 13 Pro Max. It doesn't really fit, but you do have a USB port there as well. I think these 2022 model years, they don't really offer wireless charging anymore because of the chip shortage nonsense. Here's your iDrive control right here. You can use this if you don't want to use the touchscreen. So you have two little options there. Not bad. It's your drive modes and your gear lever knob, the electronic gear lever. Parking cameras. This one does have the 360 camera as well. A good touch. Clear, very clear, crisp, no issues. The center armrest, okay space. You also have a USB-C port there as well. You can definitely put your phone in there. It's not an issue. Open this up, glove box, even with the books, plenty of space, nice to see. We also have a large panoramic sunroof. I'll go ahead and I will open that for you here. And it does open all the way out. So there you are. Many people are going to enjoy that. And this electronic parking brake, this will turn off as soon as you put your foot on the throttle pedal. which is, I always like it when vehicles are programmed like that. But anyway, I think we spent enough time here in the front. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the rear seats now in the trunk. Okay, so let's hop into the rear seats now. I am 5'11", so that's where I have this seat set out currently, and there's a decent amount of space here. Definitely comparable to the BMW X3. If I'm going to be honest with you, you just have to watch out for this back plating here. It's a little bit, you know, it's very hard actually, so it kind of digs into your shin. That can be painful for adults, so just watch out for that. But the tow room is not bad. I'll close this for you. When you open and close the doors, they have a good sensation. It does feel solid. Here's your ambient lighting. You can take a look at that with more carbon fiber here in the back. But yeah, I do sit a little bit closer to the steering wheel than most people my size. So that's why there's a liberal amount of space here for the rear occupants. But yeah, even though you're not stretching out here like a Maybach, still a decent size, very comparable to like a Audi Q5 or something. You have your own HVAC to play with here as well, with some USB-C ports. And the seat quality in here is pretty much the same as in the front as well, reasonably comfortable. You can put this down if you want. You have some cup holders here, so you can play with that. There you go. No real pass-through because you can just fold these seats down, right? So this is pretty much all the same as a regular X3. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that trunk space now. Okay, at the back of the vehicle, you can open this with the key fob if you want, or you can just press it here automatically. Oh, my bag just almost fell. Anyway, that bag should give you a good idea of how much space is back here. Good amount of space, not a problem. Again, I said this in my regular X3 review. I would honestly choose the X3 over the X5. I really don't see the purpose of the X5 unless you're going up to the M40i model. That way you can get a twin turbocharged V8. But really, the space that this offers is truly excellent for most families. You have this kind of tonneau cover thing as well to hide your belongings. But you can also remove that if you don't want to deal with it. And of course, you can fold down the rear seats, which I will do in a moment. And I think you can actually get a spare tire here. I think it's like a $150 option if you want it. But you have some extra storage here as well. The run flat tires that BMW uses is actually very quiet. So I don't mind having the run flat tires on a BMW anymore. It doesn't really bother me as much as it does for other people. So let me go ahead and put down these rear seats for you so you can see what that looks like. Little latch here as well, you know, press that, and it does lay pretty much flat. You can obviously lower that one as well, and yeah, that's plenty of space for most families. I mean, come on, the X5 just has a little bit more swagger. It's a little bit of a larger vehicle to look at, but really practically this is all the space you would need. That should be it for the interior space. Let's go ahead and let's cover the conclusions now. Okay, so we drove the vehicle in plenty of detail. I gave you all my nuanced little thoughts on the car and my interior thoughts. Now let's conclude here. It's a nice vehicle. It truly is. It's something to consider. I think most people will be happy with it, right? It's going to be one of the quickest vehicles most humans, most normal people have ever driven. But it kind of lets me down because I thought this would be a lot like that M440i. I thought it would mimic that drivetrain setup, and it does not. It lacks some smoothness. It lacks that quickness. The sport mode isn't quite the way I wanted it to be based on my experience with the M440i coupe. But if you're boyfriend, girlfriend, your spouse, whoever, if they really want you to get an SUV, then this is going to be that performance SUV that you're going to be stuck with in the BMW family. The next step up would be like the X5 M50i. But like I said in the beginning, I think the regular X3 will do for most people. Okay, I don't see too many people flying down the road or driving the piss out of their cars. So I promised I would talk about this from the beginning, but I did partner up with Lease Companion for good reason. It's because this market is crazy and people are paying over MSRP for cars. Please do not pay over MSRP for any vehicle, especially a European vehicle like this. They are known to depreciate. Just think about it from the pre-pandemic levels. We always purchased vehicles below MSRP and we still got bent over when we went to trade them in. So don't pay over MSRP, okay? If you're gonna buy a vehicle, at least buy it at MSRP. definitely not over, okay? So with Lease Companion, if you want to order a vehicle like this, you can. They're located in the Washington, D.C. area, but they offer nationwide shipping, so they can ship the vehicle to you anywhere. And you don't have to lease the vehicle. You can pay cash for it or you can finance it, but most importantly, you can take 1% off MSRP on a M40i X3, which is cool. But again, with the regular X3, with the 4-cylinder, you can take 6% off MSRP. So not only is that a more cheaper solution, it's going to be the smoother driving experience, a little bit more comfortable, same interior space. You know, that's just kind of the way to go, and you get a bigger discount on it, slightly better fuel economy. But you will have to order the vehicle. You're going to have to spec it out, and you're going to have to wait for it to be built. So there's going to be like a few months of waiting there, maybe 3 to 6 months. I'm not entirely sure, but you know, I have an affiliate link in the description box and in the pinned comments. So if you want to go through them, you can use my link. They are a broker, so they charge a fee of between $300 to $500. That's their broker fee. You can take off between $25 to $50 off of that broker fee if you choose to go through them. So definitely use my link to get that discount, and I'll receive a small little commission, so if you want to support the channel. But if you don't want to buy anything, you just want to watch a review, that's cool. You don't have to buy anything if you don't need it. That's just simply for the people in the buying market. If they don't want to get screwed over, if they don't want to go to their local dealership, I know that experience. You walk into the dealership, they look at you like vultures, and they just try to pick you piece by piece and really screw you over. So I hate that experience. With this program, all the deals are pre-negotiated. You can look it over yourself. There's no haggling, there's no hassle, right? You just wait for the vehicle, you just ship it, or you pick it up, you do whatever. So I just want to present that to you. Hopefully you found value with this review though. Thanks again for watching. Take care and goodbye.